Alright, so in this video, by request, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to solve Lab 10 working with JSON. So basically what we're going to do is we have this lab10.json file, and we're going to basically go through that file and pull out selected pieces of information. So we're going to get the person's name along with their friends' last names. All right, and so then we have the example where the first line should look like this. Daisy Ingram is friends with Chase, Horton, and Rollins. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up that file. See, I think I've got it in here. All right, so there it is, lab 10. So let me copy it. I'm going to copy lab10.json. Move it over here to my fall directory. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out. So, all right, so the JSON file looks like this, okay? So we see that we have a list right here, okay, an array, and the first, let me go ahead and make this a little bit larger. Okay. All right, so we see that the first item in the list has all these different fields, and we see that the Daisy Ingram value is here in this name field, okay? So in other words, in this first record, the name is Daisy Ingram. And then if we scroll down here a little bit, we see that there's tags. When we see Daisy Ingram has some friends, okay? Friends is also a list where each item in the list is a dictionary, and it has a key of an ID and a value of their name. It looks like it's a full name, Marilyn Chase. Okay, and so what we want to do is we want to say Daisy Ingram, which was the name field up there, is friends with, and we are only listing the last names, Chase, Horton, and Rollins. Okay, and so that would be for the first line. And then in this next record here, looks like we would say, you know, Sheila Schmidt is friends with, and then her friends would be these people down here. So it would be Lambert, Pearson, and Jabroni. Okay, so let's go ahead and write a little program to do that. All right, so let's see, we'll go call this lab10.py. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do, of course, is we're going to import JSON, because we're going to need that in order to read this JSON. And so let's go ahead and read all of the data in from the file. So just sort of a normal, you know, with open, we'll do lab10.json, comma r as f, okay. And then we'll do file contents equals f.read, okay? So now we've got all of the file contents here, and then we can go ahead and parse this. So we'll say JSON data equals, and it's JSON.loads, okay? And then instead of putting in the f.read, I'll put in file contents, okay? So I could have done that all in one line. I could have just said JSON data equals JSON.loads and then just put in f.read. But I split it up into two lines, okay? Doesn't really matter. You could do it either way. Okay, so now that I have done that, I should be able to get out the information that I want. Now, remember, keep in mind, what we have here is we have a list, okay? So in other words, JSON data should have a, you know, this should be a list. So let's actually, I'll tell you what, before we go ahead and write all of this in here, let me go ahead and, let me go ahead and save this. I'm going to load this into the Python shell so we can make sure that we're doing the right thing. So I'll just do Python 3. All right, we're going to import JSON. Okay, and then we'll say with open lab10.json as f, and then we'll do JSON data equals JSON.loads f.read. So here I'll do it all in one line. Okay, so now if we look at JSON data, okay, there it all is. But we can see that like JSON data sub 0, okay, here's where I typed in JSON data sub 0. So you see it's just that first item, the Daisy Ingram stuff. Okay, and we could do this. We could do like length JSON data. So we see that there's actually 7 items in this data structure. Okay, so if we did like JSON data sub 5, okay, we could see, all right, so in this one, we have a person whose name is Nellie Marks, and they're friends with Heinz Brock, Sabrina Richmond, and Louisa Reynolds. Okay. Okay, so that appears to be okay. So basically what we can do now is we can start looping through this JSON data, right? So I can say for, maybe we'll say like for record in JSON data, okay? So this is going to set record to each element in this JSON data. So the first one, it'll be JSON data sub 0, and then JSON data sub 1, etc. Okay? And we want to go ahead and we're going to be printing out the person's name. So maybe what we'll do is let's have a string to, well, that's kind of verb. Let's just call it st. So st is going to be my string that I'm going to append to all of the data that I want onto. Okay, so I'll say st plus equals, and it's going to be record sub name. Okay, remember name, we go back to the JSON, name is the name inside this field. So that's what will give me this value right here. Okay. All right, now we need to find out who this person's friends are. So again, if we scroll down through the JSON here, we see, okay, friends. All right, friends is also a list. Okay, so we can say friends equals record sub friends. Okay, and now friends should be a list. So we can now loop through the friends list and say, you know, for f in friends, I've already used f up above, so maybe I should be a little bit more careful and not do that. I'll say for friend in friends. Okay, and again, each item here in friends is a dictionary, so friend sub name is kind of what I'm after here. Okay, so I can say name equals friend sub name, like this. Okay, now I need to split this because I only want to get the last name, right? So I can go ahead and split these by a space. All right, so I can do this. I can do first, I'll do like this. I'll do f name, l name equals name dot split, and we're going to split it with just a space like that. Okay, so so that gives me the person's first and last name are now set to these values. Okay, and now I can go ahead and you know what, maybe what I'll do is I'm going to do a I'm going to create a last name list. I'm going to set this equal to a empty list, and I'll just go ahead and append these last names onto this last name list. Okay, so I can do last name list dot append l name, like that. Okay, so when it's done looping through all of the various friends, I should have this list of just last names. Okay, now the reason why I went ahead and did that is so that way I can just join them all together with a comma. Okay, so I can do string plus equals and then do a space is friends with. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the join. So I'm going to do a comma and a space dot join. So this is how you join a list, and then the list that I want to join is going to be this last name list. Okay, so this right here is just shorthand for, okay, I'm going to take last name list and I'm going to join each element together with a comma and a space, right? So if so for example here, let's say that we have, we'll do my list equals JSON data sub 0 friends. Okay, so we see that my list is now this. Okay, and then if I create that loop, all right. Well, here, let me do the example slightly differently. Let me do this. I'll just create a fake list right here where I have Jones, Smith, and Stevens. Okay. So if I do, if I want to be able to join these together into a string, okay, then the syntax that I used right here where I'm doing the join and then A like that, see how that, it creates a string with them separated with this comma and space, okay? So that's what I've done right there. Now you didn't necessarily have to use this join. If you wanted to loop through each item in here and go ahead and append it on to the end of the string and make sure that when you were close to the end of the list, you didn't add an extra comma space at the end, you could have done that, okay? But I think this is just kind of an easier way to do it. Okay, and so, yeah, so I think what we can do at this point is we can probably just print st, okay? So, now the only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so that I'm going to remove this, and I'm just going to put st equals right here so that it just starts out as the person's name, and then is friends with, and the last names, and then we print that out, and then we're basically done. Okay, so let's see if that works. All right, so let me exit out of this, and we'll say python3 lab10.py. Okay, and yeah, looks like we got it. Okay, so we see Daisy Ingram is friends with Chase Horton Rollins. Sheila Schmidt is friends with Lambert Pearson Jabroni, etc. Okay. And we point out that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows here, which is what we expected, because we saw when we had the interpreter open that there are 7 items in our data structure. See, when we did this length of JSON data, it said it was 7 long. Okay, so that's basically how you should have done the lab. Okay, and it's important to sort of understand, looping through and finding information in data structures. So that was kind of the purpose of this lab, is to just get a little bit of practice of looping through. If I had said, hey, let's get the tags and do something with the tags, okay, then again, tags would be, record sub tags, right? Like record tags like this, right? So that would give me the tags, and then again, that's a list, so then I would have to do something with my list. Maybe I would join those with, colons or something, I don't know, or add a hashtag at the front, I don't know. Okay, anyway, but so you get the idea. So that's basically the lab. You should have done something similar to this in order to solve it. Okay.